black in corporate America, being a black woman in corporate. Oh my god, what does that mean? Are you colorblind? You actually be colorblind. Stay tuned and be sure to find out in the rest of the video. So from the title, you can see below that we will be talking today about being a black female in corporate America. Before we jump into the actual video, I just want to apologize for the time which I haven't been able to upload. It's kind of a very busy period right now for me, and I really didn't anticipate that. So all of this has been such a learning curve, because initially I thought that I'll be able to upload as frequent as I used to be in the fall with my work schedule, which is kind of crazy right now. So I do extend my apologies, and I hope you guys take it. Now guys, let's jump into the video. So today we'll be talking about being black, being a black female in corporate America. What does that entail? What's kind of like the life that you would experience, of course. And for everything which I'm about to share, this is my opinion, this is my take, and I hope to share with you guys as we go through. And I'm pretty sure there are many people who are going to be able to relate with some of this information. So the first thing I want to say is I think it's very important that we talk mostly about like why exactly am I even doing this video right now, because guys, it is February and it is Black Heritage Month. So if you do not know what Black Heritage Month is, it is actually like a month set apart like in the US, where we actually celebrate our heritage, we celebrate our black culture, we celebrate all the good things, all the people who fought against slavery in the United States, and we just get to celebrate and really embask and just enjoy our culture as who we are. For people who are of black descent, they get to really learn more about our culture, learn more about the different things that make us who we are. So that's kind of why we celebrate this. So what I really want to say now is, one thing that I do not agree with several people is like, oh, when people say I'm colorblind. Ladies and gentlemen, what does that even mean, right? I think just with the nature of how this country was built, the United States, there was a very long period where there was a lot of slavery. There was always like demeaning of the black person or many people of color, you know. If it's something that had happened for a very long time. I'm pretty sure we all know about slave trade, slavery. That was a true thing. That was something that actually happened in this country. So it's kind of an oblivious statement, or it's almost a very I would say not a very good statement to make when you say, oh yeah, I'm colorblind. Now you can choose the way you decide to go about things. You can actually choose how you react to certain situations. But for you to say, oh no, I'm not black, I'm not white, I don't see color, I don't see that, excuse you, no, we live in the United States. Color is a thing in America. So if you're planning to come here and you don't know that color is a thing, color is a thing in the United States. There's a difference between black, there's a difference between you being white. We come from very different backgrounds, we have several different cultural experiences. Now this is not to say that you cannot have a similarity with someone who is of a different skin color, because I don't believe that, because I always say this, that we have more similarities in this world than differences. But it will be almost like an insult to say like, oh, I don't see color and everybody is the same to me. Yes, all human beings are the same, but if we look at the history of the United States, if you really try to sit down and understand things, there is a difference between you being of Caucasian descent and you being of Hispanic descent, or you being of black descent. So there is actually color, like, even, and this transcends, because this is what this country is built on. So this actually transcends into corporate America. Now, being a black woman in corporate America, it's a very blanketed term, and I kind of want to break it down how I understand it and how I'm able to navigate it. Because yes, granted, I am African, I come from Cameroon, but you know, to a non-black person, I'm sorry, I look black. If something is going to happen, they'll say, yeah, the black girl over there, they'll identify me as my based off of my skin color. Granted, I could be the lawyer, I could be the doctor, it doesn't matter. But if someone sees me and say a black and white person, like, okay, she's black, regardless of whether she's from Africa or she's from the Caribbean. So one thing that I want to bring about is, it's a very interesting experience, right? And I know there's so many, just with like everything that's been happening in the media in terms of like black shootings, like killings, all that stuff. So there is I would tend to agree that many to argue rather that many people think that it's probably more of a curse than a blessing at this point in time. But you know, it is what it is. It is where we are, and we just kind of have to make the best of it. In a way, I wouldn't say necessarily like it's a bad thing or anything. It's just something that we have to deal with, and you just kind of have to pick and choose your battles. Granted, there are going to be things that you cannot avoid, but I also think that it also makes sense to kind of like be intentional about the things, of the kind of conversations, and the importance of actually having those conversations with people. So one thing that I want to say is like, you always, one thing that I know for sure I've had to experience is you always have to be on your best behavior. Most of the time in a lot of corporations in the US, black people are the minority because we are the minority in the US. So it's almost going to be, unless it's a black owned firm or like a black owned something, chances are we are probably going to be the minority in that space. So it's one of those things that you kind of always have to be on your best behavior. I'll give you guys an example. If I was to go to a happy hour or to like any work function and I was to misbehave, it's probably easier to identify, oh, she misbehaved based off of that black girl, because it's probably me and like 3 other people in a population of like 500, 600 different people. So it's going to be easy for me to, oh yeah, she misbehaved, she drank too much, and then you know, HR, all that stuff, people get involved. So it's probably in a sense, like it's probably not the best situation all the time, because you have to always be on your best behavior. But I always like to think about things this way. Even if I'm being like a very poised person, I'm trying to be proper and all of that, at the end of the day, it does help you as an individual and it helps your character. So yes, it may not be ideal that you are the only black person in that circumstance, but at the same time too, it also kind of makes you always be on top of your game. You always want to make sure that you're doing amazing at work and like you're actually doing good. So yes, it's always like there's always like an overlay, there's always some extra work that we are required to do because we are black. We have always been seen as, you know, not being able to achieve just based off of history and everything. You know, if we look at like just everything happening in the media and stuff like that, we can all, and I think one thing that I really want to point out is there is a wealth gap between non-blacks and black people, and that huge wealth gap. So of course, like us black people, we have already been seen as, okay, we cannot be achievers, we are not the most, you know, we are not owning all the big firms in New York City, for example. We are still trying to build up our rapport and build up our own environment. So with that being said, you know, you always kind of have to go the extra mile for a task that, you know, someone who may not be of black descent will have to go the extra mile. But if you look at it this way and say, okay, if I have to go the extra mile, we might as well do it well. And if you're diligent with your work, granted there's a lot of office politics, it probably ends up benefiting you. And I'm very realistic, as I always try to emphasize on this channel. Yes, you may be as diligent, you may be a very hardworking person, but odds may be against you, my brother, my sister. So you may not get that promotion as fast as other people, but aside from that, you can do it for yourself. So that's one thing. So the next thing is I really want to talk about like our culture. I know I had talked about this on like when my being African in corporate America, but because of our body frame, right, there are many things that cannot fly. So I remember when I was an intern once, I wore like a skirt, which it was, you know, like not that short or anything, but like because of my body frame, I'm kind of loaded in the back and in the front. So because of that, you know, it seemed like I was wearing like the world's shortest skirt. Nobody said anything to me, but I could feel people looking at me all day. And I know somebody else who wore something else similar to that, and nobody said anything. And I was like, sis, is it because, like, you know, that's my body, that's what God gave me? But we also have to deal with that, you know. Sometimes it's like, you may not be able to fly with certain things because you're black, and that's not even because of our skin color per se, but it's just because of your body frame. But that's what God gave us, so we gotta make it work. They're my assets, so I have to make it work. So another thing that I want to talk about is, and I actually was having a conversation with one of my friends, and she said she loves the fact of being different, right? Like we are very different from culturally, just language, you know, how we interact and everything with other people who are not of black descent, or people who are the majority. And this work and this environment is, we kind of have to always be on the fact of like explaining stuff. So for example, if a shooting happens, right, which a lot of them have been happening in the US for like young black men, young black females, older women, there's a lot of police brutality, and it is what it is, guys. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There is a lot of police brutality against our skin complexion sometimes. But there has also been the fact of like, yes, because of this, you know, I can't, like, if I'm gloomy at work or if I'm sad, I kind of have to explain myself, you know. It's not something that, and you know what, it's not something that people just pick up, you know, immediately. Oh yeah, she may be sad because of this and that and all of that. But I think like we also, like, it's an interesting conversation to have, because you kind of also cannot blame, you know, these people, like, you know, people of non-black descent, like, they don't know, they did not grow up with that kind of thing, they don't have to deal with that on a daily basis. So you kind of always have to like be able to explain that and say, okay, because a lot of this happens in our environment, of course it's going to affect my attitude, it's going to affect who I am at work. So if you kind of have to always explain and say, no, I'm not feeling well, or like I'm just not happy because of everything that happened, you know, and this is kind of what I'm going. And I really want to encourage, like, if you're black in corporate America, like, don't always take these things as the negative things. Honestly speaking, right, like, people sometimes truly do not know. And yes, I know I've had this conversation, many people have said this, I'm tired of educating people, but literally, what are you gonna do? We are the minority. Granted, there are so many initiatives in this country to be able to increase the population of like black folks in the workplace, in the accounting business, in finance, all that stuff. But as of now, this is what we have. So I think sometimes like we should take a stand and just say, all right, I'm going to explain this to you. Now, whether you choose to get it or not, that's one thing, but I want to explain to you. And I know it's a bit difficult for us, ladies and gentlemen, but I think we have to educate people who don't come from where we come from, and let them understand where we come from, because if you don't explain that, truthfully speaking, they're not going to be able to understand you. So I think it's very important to speak up and to let your voice be heard. Now, this is all I really wanted to share for this video. It's just about being black in corporate America. We celebrate Black History Month this month, so be sure to, you know, support our black businesses. I'm really big on supporting black businesses, so I would encourage you to support black businesses, not only in February but every other time. Ladies and gentlemen, support black businesses. It's very important. We all want a seat at the table, and we have to support our people. We have to support people around us, you know. So I highly encourage you, if you haven't subscribed, please, what in this world are you waiting for? Make sure you do. If you haven't liked, make sure you like this video, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. Goodbye.